Hi, I'm Dr. Reese, and one of the things that I am passionate about is attachment. Now, some people say, what is attachment? What does that mean? And it's very simply relationships. How we have relationships with each other. Now, we all learn our attachment style from our parents. They were our first example of what a relationship should look like. The way that they attached to us is typically the way we are going to attach to other people. And this is what makes attachment generational. So if our parents attached to us with, let's say, an anxious attachment style, then we may also be a little anxious in the way that we develop relationships with other people, because that's what was modeled for us, and that's the type of relationship that we had with our parents. Now, another attachment style is avoidant, and this means that we're kind of independent in relationships, and we don't really connect based on meeting needs or being vulnerable. So if that is the way that my parents had a relationship with me, then typically that's the way I am going to have relationships with other people in my life. Maybe my spouse or my child or my friends. The third attachment style is secure. Now, this means that we give and take in a relationship, that we see each other as equals, that we meet needs, which is something called attunement, and that we take care of each other. Again, if that is the way that my parents parented me and had a relationship with me, then chances are that's the way that I'm going to have relationships with other people. Now, when does this relationship begin? When does attachment start? I believe that attachment starts in utero. And I believe that it begins in utero because our five senses are how we collect information about the world around us. And that information is then presented to our brain, and it is recorded in a groove or a neural pathway, which is how we start to define our belief system, our worldview, the way that we see the world around us. Now, those five senses, some of them start to begin in utero. So to understand attachment, we have to go back to the beginning, the very beginning, before the beginning in utero. So the sense of hearing develops at around 18 weeks of development in utero. So about 4.5 months into a pregnancy, baby begins to hear. Now, what baby hears is mother's heartbeat all day, every day, 24 hours a day, for 4.5 months prior to birth. This becomes baby's first attachment. Baby's home base, baby's safe place, baby's comfort zone. Now, baby also gets used to mother's voice because he is listening to her talk all day long. So when baby is born, we have this little baby who is going from a place that for 9 months has been dark and quiet and warm and wet, to a place that is very dry, very bright, and very loud. Baby is in sensory overload, which is why most babies when they are born are crying. They're in distress. And what is the first thing that we do with baby before we even cut the umbilical cord? A lot of times we place baby on mother's chest. Why do we do that? We are returning baby to mother's heartbeat. And when baby returns to mother's heartbeat, many times baby calms. He can hear his safe place, comfort zone, home base, and he feels secure again. So he quiets. Because the other thing that most mamas will do when baby is placed on her chest, most mamas will start to talk to their baby, and they will say things like, "You are so beautiful. We waited so long for you. I love you so much." So baby hears mama's heartbeat, mama's voice, and baby calms. Now, over the first year of life, baby will use his voice to let his mama know that he needs her. Over 100,000 times, baby will cry and mother will come. This is baby's way of expressing needs. And when mother or father meets those needs, this is where attunement develops. So attunement is meeting each other's needs. So you express your need and I meet your need. So when baby cries because he is hungry and you feed him, you're meeting a need. And when he cries because he is tired and sleepy and you rock him to sleep, you're meeting another need. So baby has his needs met consistently over that first year of life, and he develops trust. Because when somebody is meeting all of our needs, we start to rely on that. We start to depend on it. We develop trust in that. They have met that need 100,000 times, so I'm going to believe that they're going to continue to meet the need. I can trust that. I can trust that when I use my voice to tell you what I need, that you are going to come. This is how attachment develops in all of us. And moving forward, we have attachment-based relationships with many people in our life. Our primary attachment figure in childhood are our parents. However, moving into our teenage years, our friends can become primary attachment figures. And then our friends can evolve into spouses and partners. So when we reach adulthood, most often, if we're single, then it may be a best friend who's our primary attachment figure. And if we are married or in a permanent relationship, then that spouse is our primary attachment figure. When we have children, they become secondary attachment figures because we're still primarily attached to our spouse, significant other. And over the years, attachments change. So like I said, in childhood, it's our parents. In those teen years, which are really crucial as teens are transitioning from parents as primary attachment figures to peers as primary attachment figures, a lot of times that can get sticky. We can cover that in another video. But it's important during those years to handle with care because attachment ruptures can happen in the teenage years between parents and children if we aren't supporting them in their developmentally appropriate search for independence and attaching to their friends. Now, the other thing that is important to know about attachment is that there are 3 steps that build attachment. The first is attunement. We just talked about that a minute ago, where we meet each other's needs. And this builds trust, which I also talked about a minute ago. And these are the 2 building blocks for attachment. So attunement, trust, attachment. This is how attachment grows. And if any of those steps are missing, if we don't trust a person, typically we're not going to attach to them. And if we're in a relationship with somebody who is not meeting needs, chances are trust is not going to grow. And then our attachment is also not going to grow to this person. It's also important to recognize that attachments grow when 2 people are turned towards each other and are moving towards each other. So it is impossible to build an attachment-based relationship with somebody who is not interested in building an attachment-based relationship with you. It requires 2 people to be facing each other, saying, I would like to have a relationship with you, and then doing the work to move towards that relationship. If one person is doing all the work, then what it looks like is this, and this can start to burn out this person. If we are in a relationship with somebody who maybe is turned toward us, but is not doing the work to actually connect. It also doesn't work if the other person is turned away from us and we are moving towards them and they're not even looking our way. Attachment doesn't build that way either. Attachment certainly does not build if the other person is actually turned away from us and is actually running in the other direction. That does not build a healthy attachment-based relationship either. Both people have to be turned towards each other, and moving towards each other. Now, one person might be moving faster than the other, right? So if you just meet somebody, you may be moving faster than they are towards you. But as long as they are moving even in baby steps towards you, attachment will at some point grow. This happens with children, babies, right? Babies don't have a lot to give in the way of meeting your needs. Now, they do meet your needs for love, because when they look up at you with those adoring eyes and you get that warm, fuzzy feeling, right? That's meeting a need for you. But they certainly are turned towards you. But you are the one who's doing all the work. The attachment will still build, even though they're taking their baby steps towards you, right? But just remember that when you meet a stranger and you're both working on building an attachment-based relationship, like in a dating relationship or a friendship, it's going to take time and it's going to take investment. Relationships are living things. So if we don't invest in them continuously, they will die. They're not like a one and done type of task. They are something that requires continual nurturing, continual investing, spending quality time together, being vulnerable and sharing. And this is where that trust piece comes in. So if I trust you, if you have met my needs, and I am trusting in that, and I trust that you care about me, and you hear me, and you see me, and you know me, then I am going to be able to be vulnerable with you. And when I'm vulnerable, that is where emotions meet. So in vulnerability is where emotional connections most often happen. That is after the trust part and leading into the attachment part. So vulnerability is a really large piece of building healthy attachment, having somebody that you trust enough to be vulnerable with. Now, attachment-based relationships sometimes have ruptures. Sometimes we have a disagreement. Sometimes we disconnect. Sometimes we are feeling distant from somebody. That doesn't mean that the relationship is over, and it doesn't mean that it's been damaged. What it means is that there's been a rupture. And anytime that you bring together two people who have different personalities and different ways of thinking about things and seeing things, two people who are not robots or clones, then you're going to have disagreements. You're going to have conflict. The key is having it in a healthy way. So can we be respectful of each other? Can we compromise? Can we listen to the viewpoint of the other person? This is what brings reconciliation after a rupture. So ruptures are not the end of a relationship. They can actually be growing points, because where there have been ruptures and repairs, we end up with scar tissue. And as we all know, scar tissue tends to be a little tougher and stronger than regular tissue. So it's important to just know that ruptures aren't the end of the world. It just means that we need to repair them and reconcile so that we can move forward in our relationship together. So this is what attachment is. It's relationships, and we were all made to connect. We are healthier mentally, emotionally, when we are connecting with each other in attachment-based relationships. That is where our brains do a lot of growing, where we're able to, again, learn about a different point of view or a different way of seeing things by listening to another person. This is where we are able to get the emotional support that we all need as human beings. So attachment-based relationships are really important for us to be healthy physically, mentally, emotionally, and to be well-adjusted. So I hope that helps to explain what attachment is all about. Again, that is my passion, and if you have more questions, feel free to send me a message. I'd love to share with you. Have a great day.